Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk, episode 498. It is almost the end of July 2024, and we were off last week, so we're got a catch-up week here. We've got a lot to cover. We've got our why we were off last week, trip to New York, the NASDAQ market site, talk about that a little bit. We're going to go back into the rent versus buy. We've kind of been avoiding the whole rent versus buy, especially the math, because the math is not that great right now, but we'll talk about it.
We haven't been avoiding it. We just haven't had it come up for a
Well,
while.
that's I guess, yeah, okay, that's fair. Market update, just a few things been happening around the market. I wanted to share some of that. Tracy, you've got homes of the week, and we've got a tip that came up I thought was really good. I'll share with you for homeowners. And then there's a big change coming in the real estate world, and maybe we'll go into that next week. That's the commission thing and that's going on. Maybe we'll put that off till next week because it's going to go live here in Albuquerque on August 1st. And I really want to talk about this targeted areas program that the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority has.
Tico, why don't we start there? We
Okay.
don't run out of time because
Yeah,
it's such a great program
it is. It is.
and it could really help some people.
We should introduce ourselves.
Sure. Tracy and Tego Venturi with Real Broker here in Albuquerque. We're at 448-8888 in the 505. You can always find us here on the Kiva,
Yep.
right?
On the
But
Kiva.
also
You can find our replays there on Podbean, on iTunes,
on Facebook.
on Facebook, on Anyway, it's out there everywhere, all those places, all the usual suspects. So if you want to tune in while you're driving around after today, you can always catch the recording. And if you are listening on YouTube, hit a subscribe. That really helps us a lot. We appreciate it.
Targeted areas. This has to do with
The New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, which is the entity that helps with first-time homebuyer programs, down payment assistance programs, they have an area called Targeted Areas, or they have a program called Targeted Areas. And what they do is they look at certain parts of town, and its census tracts is how it's looked at. And so actual geographic locations. And if there's a home that gets purchased that are in those areas, you get some special benefits,
financing benefits.
financing benefits. And
Do you have to qualify?
there is a qualification, but one of the things that usually for the MFA program, you have to be a first time home buyer,
Which
right?
means you haven't owned a home in 3 years.
Correct.
Doesn't mean you can't have ever owned a home.
That is correct. But for this program,
You could sell a house and buy one a week later
exactly
and you would qualify.
correct. The other big thing with this is they use the best mortgage interest rate that they've had in the past 12 months. So they could be a rate from 10 months ago. If it was better than whatever today's published rate is, they're going to get that better rate. So that's the big advantage. And these are areas that are on the lower level. It's like lower income neighborhoods. And what they're trying to do is bring investment into those areas and homeowners into those areas. A lot of different areas.
There's a whole corridor right along I-25
What we think
from
of as Borales in Martinez Town, that whole area. There's some areas in the International District. There's some areas on the west side, Ladera area. There's some areas in the southeast or
and
southwest as well.
and one of the more surprising ones is that area of Montgomery, Carlisle. There's
Yeah,
a lot of condos in that area
there
that
are.
do qualify. So those condos are lower priced and they qualify and they have HOA fees typically. So the price might seem really low, but there is usually an HOA fee that brings that monthly payment up a little bit. But with these programs, you can get into one of those
Well,
condos.
Lisa on our team has one listed right in there. I think it's 99,000, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 99. It has an HOA fee. I can't
Mhm.
remember, something in the 200s a
It's
month
one
probably.
room, but that's
Yeah.
but 99,000 and it qualifies for this program. So you can get a good mortgage rate and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. And there's also down payment assistance
So you can,
available as well.
yeah, with
Yes.
very little out of pocket.
Yeah. So
Yeah, good.
if you're interested, if you just Google search MFA targeted areas, I actually have a web page set up on our website. You'll find it and you can see all the homes that are for sale in those areas.
Or share it with somebody that you know that might want to find one of these homes for sale. Okay, good information, Tigo. So let's talk about our trip to New York.
So we were out of town last week. That's why there's no show last week. We were in New York and then we went to Boston. But New York was business and Boston was fun.
Although New York was fun.
That's
We
true, of
had quite
course.
a great time. So we had the opportunity to attend the 10th anniversary of the company we work for, Real Broker. They were having their 10th anniversary. It's a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ exchange. So they had the opportunity to be at the NASDAQ, or we had the opportunity. There was probably 150 of us from around the company, around the country, in the country, from the company. Anyway, we were there all day doing some networking and mastermind and just different classes. And then the company was able to be the company ringing the bell at the close of the NASDAQ for the trading for the day, which is not like old days where they have a real trading floor with ticker tape flying all over. And
Yeah, it's
it's
not
all
like the
electronic
yeah,
now.
no, it's not like the New York Stock Exchange. The NASDAQ is all digital. But
I think the CME still got
yeah,
a floor, the Chicago Mercantile
yeah, it probably
Exchange.
does. Yeah.
But anyway, so we were there all day for that, but we also were in New York, but we did a lot of networking.
Yeah, it was interesting talking. It's always great. So we talked to a lot of other, brokers, team owners like us, realtors from all over the country and just what they're experiencing. And it's always great to get that interaction and hear what's going on in other markets and challenges and wins and things going on. And what I found is Florida is a very different market than New Mexico, right? Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is every market, there's people that need to move, there's people that need to buy, people that need to sell. They're just different challenges. And it was just good to connect with those people. And we had some training and some mastermind events and talking about best practices and talking about how to better serve our clients and all that good stuff. So it was a great event.
That's one of the things I think was most valuable for us. Yeah, it's really cool to go, and we stayed in a hotel right off Times Square, right by the NASDAQ market site. So all the excitement of New York City, but talking to other realtors and just, I mean, there's so many things that we can learn that help our buyers and sellers. So we bring that back to the team, and that's really awesome. Plus, for people who are moving out of the area, we know realtors in Canada, in the United States, all over, not just by Googling them, but because we meet them in person regularly at events like this. And we've been going to events. I think, Tigo, the first time we went to a real estate convention out of state was 2007 or 8.
It
It
was
was,
8. It
I
was
was,
8 because we knew because at that event in 2008, the whole conversation was, "Get ready, it's gonna get ugly."
well, and in New Mexico, we hadn't felt it yet, but in
Yeah,
other states, they were way ahead of us,
right.
like way ahead of us.
Yeah,
But the first one was in New Orleans. And
yeah,
and you got licensed in '07, so it was your first year.
yeah.
Anyway, good stuff. So, of course, when we're in other parts of the world, we always look at what housing costs, right? And so we talk about housing affordability here all the time. Well, of course, I bought tickets to Boston Red Sox. So we went to Fenway Park. We signed up and we were able to take a tour of the park during the day, which was awesome.
That was pretty cool.
That was very cool.
If you're ever in Boston, take the Fenway Park tour.
Right. Yeah, it's a fee, but it was affordable, and it's
Yeah.
an hour, right, where you walk around and they show you things. Fortunately and unfortunately, it was game day, so we didn't get to go in locker rooms or really behind the scenes, but we did get to see a lot of it. But we had the opportunity to sit and have coffee that afternoon. And of course, we're looking at what things cost around Fenway Park. Of course, we did that in New York City too. And we took the Amtrak from New York to Boston. So of course we checked along the way. But tell them about
Well,
Fenway Park area.
that whole East Coast corridor, anything in that area is pretty expensive, and so, like, a studio
300,
condo,
and
it wasn't even a one-bedroom, it was just a studio.
it was
It's
like some 300 and
400 square feet, and
yeah,
it was like $500,000 plus HOA fees and all this stuff. And of course, that's an extreme example, but even a house, even like a brownstone, which is really like a townhome, they're small, but they're $1 million just for something really small. Of
yeah,
course, it's not apples to apples. It's downtown Boston and all that, but
yeah.
and of course, New York's expensive. And
We were talking to this couple, Tigo, that their son-in-law was with the AAA team to the Boston Red Sox, and he'd been called up to the Red Sox 2 weeks before and had already had 2 really good games, so probably he's still called up.
Yeah.
But the family was trying to get just a place to rent, and they're obviously way out of town and have to commute into Boston just to have a place that was affordable for them with their 2 kids to rent.
It struck me, it was interesting. It's okay if you get called up to the Red Sox versus Kansas City, for example, you've got a very different living expense that you're dealing with. I was like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a really
Or New
interesting.
York, they have two
Yeah,
baseball teams.
yeah,
Well, and the whole thing, I mean, we're way off topic here, but the whole thing of AAA and you have to find housing while you're in AAA, and all of a sudden you get called up and then you need to find housing because, like, for the Isotopes, AAA, the main big league team is not in New Mexico. For there in Massachusetts, it just so happened that the AAA team was outside of Boston by about an hour, so it
uh,
wasn't too huge of a thing.
yeah.
But speaking of rents, you did a bunch of research on rent versus buy, so let's go there next.
Yeah, let's talk about rent versus buy. This is a conversation that comes up a lot, especially for people that are renting or maybe just moving out of the house and they're trying to figure out, or maybe they're just getting married or whatever, or coupling up, whatever. And they're like going, okay, should we rent or should we buy? Right.
Coupling up. You
Coupling up.
stopped me at coupling up.
Well, I couldn't think of whatever, pairing up. It's
Okay.
not always getting married,
Moving
right?
in together.
Yeah, moving in together.
Could be roommates.
Shacking.
Whatever.
They still call it that?
That's the old
Yeah.
lingo.
Yeah. So we used to say, Tracy, it was if you buy versus rent, the math worked out to about 2 years was your break even, or less than 2 years. At one point back in like
Tw
2013, 14, it was maybe not even a year.
Well, 2022, it was definitely cheaper to buy than rent. The monthly payment was definitely cheaper with 3 and 4% interest rates.
Well, I'm talking about the break even point though.
Oh,
I'm
of
so
own.
yeah, that's the whole thing is you got to look at all the variables. It's like how much is a house payment? How much is mortgage interest? How much is the insurance? How much is the maintenance? And that's going to be different if it's a new houses versus a resale house. How much is w- all those extra things you have to account for? And then with rent, obviously it's how much our rent's going to go up each month or
Each
each
year.
year. With home, it's like how much is it going to appreciate each year, right? So you have to calculate all that stuff, and the term is determine net present value and work backwards from there. But we're not going to talk about that. You have to take all those things into account, and some of it is you're guesstimating, right? So you're guesstimating that rents are probably going to go up 5% per year, which is pretty standard, right? It's actually been more than that recently. It was less than that in the past, but let's say rents are 5% per year. Home appreciation in Albuquerque, it's been anywhere 4.5%, 5% consistently over time. In 2021, it was 17%, right? In 2013, it was maybe 2%, right? So it varies, but let's say long term is 5%. What I'm trying to get to is there's a gazillion different variables, but the thing that I found interesting when you think about it, if you do the math and let's say a house to rent is going to be somewhere around 2100, a comparable house that you're paying $2,100 a month rent on is going to be, let's say, 300 and I don't know, $50,000, something like that. Let's say, okay, over 10 years, when you move out of that apartment, you're going to get your deposit back,
Hopefully.
$2,100, hopefully.
Hopefully.
When you move out of that house in 10 years, you're going to get $285,000 out
Based on history,
based on the equity build as well as you're paying
appreciation.
down. No, you're also paying down your principal
Right.
every month, which is your forced savings.
Right.
But the break even number, so if you move in, you buy a house, you sell it next year, it's actually going to cost you because it hasn't appreciated enough. You haven't paid down the principal enough to make up the cost, the closing cost to sell,
Right.
right? So you need right now it's somewhere around 3 to 4 years as your break even number.
Got it.
So that was a lot of words.
That was really smart though, because I didn't understand what you were talking about for sure. So I'm glad you went through the exercise to help educate me
In the scenario I did, you saved $92,000
just
by
by paying
by
your mortgage.
by buying. And again, you get $284,000 when you move out, when you sell that house in 10 years. All right. So that's the financial argument for ownership. But there's a whole bunch of other reasons to own versus rent, right?
And I happen to have a list.
You do.
I do. Owning compared to renting does have non-financial benefits, right? One, stability and security, right? You're not going to have the landlord call and say, "Hey, I'm going to sell the house this year. You got to move," right? It just has that stability factor for sure. Lease renewals, you never know what the rent might change to or how quick your landlord's going to take care of something when something comes up. Another reason, personalization and control. Now, we've talked about this many times, right?
Yeah.
I
No,
know,
you can paint it the color you want. You can, you know,
change the floors,
do
renovate the bathrooms.
redo the landscaping. Yeah.
Yeah. Privacy. So, homes generally offer more privacy than the rentals, especially rentals where they might be apartments or large buildings, condos, things like that. So, a lot more privacy typically than renting. The other one, community involvement. So homeowners are more likely to invest in their community, partly because of the permanence of their living situation, which can generally lead to stronger relationships, right, with people that are living around you. Emotional investment and satisfactions can feel really good about home ownership, right? It makes you feel good that you're a homeowner. A lot of us have that goal in life. Pet ownership. Now we have rentals, Tigo, and you deal with people with pets wanting to rent.
I'll tell you what, if you're thinking you're going to be a renter, do not get a pet.
Well, be careful what pets you get.
Well, it's tough. It's really tough to find a place if you have a pet. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. A lot of rentals have limitations to the type of pet, the size of the pet, the number of pets. And sometimes the homeowners association also has limitations. So even if you buy, sometimes there are limitations. There's a condo complex in Rio Rancho near Southern and 528. And there's one right across the street that's also a condo complex, two different complexes, different names and everything. One of them allows no pets at all. I mean, not even like a parakeet allowed. And the other one for sale does allow pets. And so a lot of times people will reach out to us and say, "Hey, I want to go see that property." And my first question to them, first of all, I verify which one it is because they're so similar. And then I'm like, "Okay, do you have a pet?" Because this property does not allow pets under any circumstances. Of course, if it's medically necessary and you have the right paperwork for a therapy animal or something, that would be an exception. So, besides pet ownership, gardening and outdoor activities, if you're in a single family home or a townhome with a yard, being able to do gardening and host gatherings and things can be pretty awesome. Long term community services, homeowners might have access to better community services, including schools, because homeowners tend to stay in place longer. They have greater interest in the quality of the local schools and the services that are in that community. So that can be a big difference. The last one is generational stability. For many, home ownership is about setting a foundation for future generations. Owning a home can be part of building a family legacy, offering a physical space where generations can gather and live. You think about,
We can speak to that because Tracy, our kids are grown. They've moved out. We have way more house than we need right now, just for the two of us. However, it's that anchor where all the family comes together. Our house just happened to be that for our family that's here. And then the other thing is the generational wealth as well,
right,
because we know there's been studies done on the legacy of redlining and how awful that was, where certain groups of people couldn't buy in certain areas and never had the opportunity for home ownership, which then trickled down generationally. And in certain parts of the country, that's still an issue for at least generationally. I'm not
hopefully
talking
it's
about,
catching up, but
yeah, hopefully it's catching up, but it is, yeah, it's, sorry, I got back to the financial
yeah,
reasons.
that's good though, but that's a big one. But
Yeah,
a lot of non-financial reasons too.
right.
So let's go over to the tip of the week instead of the question of the week.
Yeah, tip of the week. So my tip of the week was I was at an event like I'm at all the time and with a bunch of realtors. There was an insurance broker there and really wanted to get the word out and remind everybody with what's happened in Rio Doso. a lot of people, when you have a total loss like that, where your house is just gone, right? And you haven't documented what's in it, like you have to write a list of every single thing that was lost in your home. I mean, it's awful. Think about how
I mean,
awful that
right
would be to
down
do.
to a shower curtain,
Yeah,
you
no, I
know?
know. I mean, everything. And she just wanted to get the word out and remind everybody, every once in a while, walk around your house. We all have video cameras in our pockets these days, and just record it, save it, put it on the cloud somewhere, so that if, God forbid, something like that happens, you do have the contents of your home documented. So that was the tip of the week, is record the contents of your home.
For
And
sure. We
yeah,
we started doing that once with pictures. I took out all my jewelry once and started taking pictures. Most of it's costume jewelry, but I would never remember most of it if I had to write a list down. Even the things that are sentimental to me, I probably wouldn't remember them all. So it's great advice. And it's kind of like what home inspectors do, right? Have a plan, go in from your street, go in your front door and make every right turn, follow through your house, open every drawer, take the big picture of the room. So you see things like the shower curtain, right? Not that that's a big deal, but it's as you go around every wall to the right. And that way, usually you can catch everything in a house
yeah,
like a home
yeah.
inspector.
I've got
Okay.
I've got one other thing I want to just change the subject, though. Change the subject.
Okay. I'm ready.
Market. There's been a lot of stories in the econ housing world that I follow about price reductions and the
Yep.
number of price reductions. Something I've been talking about for how many weeks now? A while.
Many.
Many.
Our
Price
listeners know we've been
yeah.
talking about that.
And I've been posting, and I've been putting it out to the realtor community too, just to keep everybody up to speed. But in Albuquerque right now, 44% of all the homes that are active on the market have reduced their list
Have
price,
had a price
have
reduction.
had a price reduction. Could be one, could be many. We don't know how much. It could be $1, it could be $100,000. We don't know, but just total number of price reductions is 44%. Then nationally, it's also very high. Redfin put some data out on that, and I commented on it. And some people, this is on X, or Twitter, as it used to be called,
X.
on X. I commented on it. My point was, yes, there's a lot of price reductions, but yet at the same time, home prices are continuing to appreciate, especially on a year over year basis. We'll probably have a seasonal decline, but on a year over year basis, home prices are still appreciated. And somebody said, well, what's causing that? Why are there so many price reductions? This is what I wrote, and you tell me what you think.
Okay. I will.
Owners are pushing the list price for many reasons. The list price is mostly math, it's comps and sales and information like that, but it also a sense of the market. And sometimes you have false perceptions of the market. The market has slowed, sales have slowed, and the buyer frenzy of 20, 21, 22 is gone. But some owners and brokers may not be adjusting appropriately when they're listing, coming up with a list price on their property. That's my take.
I'd say that's spot on.
Wow.
It is recorded.
Did you
So,
all hear that?
yeah. I'd say that's spot on. It's hard because we're looking backwards and we're trying to find similar properties to see how the market will respond. And I think what's happened is we are so accustomed to if something doesn't go pending in the first week or two, we get nervous. And
Yeah.
we've already told our clients that it's still a seller's market generally. And we're adjusting quickly because the market has responded quickly.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think that's good. And to be fair, there's a lot of brokers that never were in the business in 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, where it was we were just kind of grinding along, and it was taking a very common 30, 60 days for homes to sell. It wasn't like we had when was it? It was sometime in mid 21, where median days on market was 3 days. Like half the homes were already sold in 3 days. We're not in that market anymore,
Right.
right? And so we
Some
have to adjust it.
houses.
We have to adjust to
We
it.
we did have a house that's technically in Bernalillo in the Santiago neighborhood. So a lot of people don't know it's Bernalillo. It's right across from Enchanted Hills in North Rio Rancho. And that is Bernalillo on 528 to the east, just south of 550. And we did have a house in there this week that went on the market, I think last week. end, right before the weekend. I had open houses that were well attended and had 3 cash offers this week on it, and it went under contract. So it does still happen,
Yeah. But
and that was a
but it didn't sell immediately. It's interesting. It took
it
a
went the
week.
weekend.
It
Yeah, it
was
took till Thursday or
okay.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, I think it went pending.
But if this was 22,
It
you
would
would
have
have
been
had
on
20 offers
Saturday.
on the first day.
Yeah, the thing about it is a lot of people, especially out of area home buyers, don't know the word Bernalillo,
Yeah.
right? To actually search for a home there. And a lot of times when they get on those websites and start searching for homes, they do Albuquerque. Rio Rancho seems to come up for people, but Bernalillo is a little bit harder to market.
Okay, can I go down a rabbit hole? I know you've got some homes of the week.
I have a
We'll
lot.
finish with that, but that's a problem for Los Ranchos de Albuquerque as well. Because if somebody just searches Albuquerque, like on Zillow, for example,
And it's,
it doesn't include Los Ranchos de Albuquerque. So you have to remember that because anyway, that's a whole
yeah, yeah,
confusing
for
thing.
sure.
So,
Okay.
okay,
So we have a newly listed house, 6308 Bald Eagle in
uh,
Mountain Hawk, which is 550 by the Armory at Unser and Highway 550 in Northwest Rio Rancho, 2,200 square feet. It was built in 2022. It's listed for 425,000. In this house, there are a few for sale in that area, maybe somewhat similar price. But this one backs to an area where it has beautiful views to the mountains out the back. So it's a special one. So even if it's priced similar to others, it's very, I don't know if listeners have ever seen the quality of the homes built by Hakes Brothers, but they're very standard high quality, like 8-foot doors and crown molding and different things that really make it stand out. So for that price, I would jump on that. It just came on the market. So call us if you're interested in knowing more about that. I'm going to blow through a few real quick because
great.
I've got a lot to talk about. 10862 Forenzi Northwest for 324.9. It's in the northwest part of town, so that's 325, pretty good price based on what you said a rent or a monthly payment might be. 847 Longhorn in Rio Rancho for 344.9. This house is at kind of Unser and south, not quite as far as Unser, actually, off Southern Boulevard. So very south Rio Rancho. Really nice single story ranch home. 110 Richmond, number 310. So this is a condo complex by UNM. Really cool place. It has a center courtyard with like gates at the ends and some community space in the middles that feels very lush and green and very cool, kind of modern condo, right? It
Yeah.
looks really neat. Great
Yep.
if you want to be in the middle of it all and be able to get to quickly to hospitals or downtown or the university. Pretty slick one. So that one's cool. We have one that just hit the market on Carmelita Loop, which is right by the Domingo Baca Park, the
Yep.
dog park and the community multi-generational center. La Cueva is just walking distance. 515,000 is just over 2,000 square feet, a 2-story home. So that one's a good one. Really, really interesting one, Tego. I looked through all the photos and I went, oh, I like this house. So it's in Moriarty on 10 acres, and the house is over 3,000 square feet. It's a 4-bedroom. It's got this huge workshop outside, big barn doors. It's like got dormers on it. It's a 2-story. It's very charming looking. It looks to me like it's a cross between like a Midwest or Northeast New England kind of house,
I
but
love the look of the
a
house.
cross
It's just
between
very
that
cool
and
looking.
a
Yeah.
northern New Mexico, but
Yeah.
not quite. So
Yeah.
anyway, in Moriarty, 10 acres, beautiful home. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, call us 448-8888.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say if you we have these bookmarked. If you go to abq.re, so kind of like Albuquerque Real Estate, but it's abq.re/featured,
There you
and
go.
it'll bring you to all the listings that we're representing within our company, and you can check those out. But you can always visit our website at welcomehomeabq.com. I've got all the market stats there, of course.
And we have
And
run out of time,
I
Tigo. We
know
have so many more things to talk about.
I know. We'll have to
I
wait
got
till
way
next
off
week.
track.
Well, we're on 498.
8. Yep.
Oh, almost there.
It'll be
Episode
August.
498. Yep.
It'll be August.
August will be episode 500. Thanks, everybody. And again, hit subscribe or follow or whatever it is on whatever you're listening to us on. If you're listening to us on 1600 AM, just
It's a
steady,
shout.
give
Yep.
us a shout and have a great weekend. Take care.